This is the Ender 3 S1 Pro, and throughout this video, I'm going to be telling you why you might want to purchase this printer. So at the crux of it, this printer is obviously an Ender 3 style printer. Of course, it is an Ender 3 after all, but it's a highly modified Ender 3. I mean, just look at it. It has an LED bar, it has a handle on the build plate, it has a magnetic flex plate. I don't know what's even going on up here. It's some all-in-one hot end with a BL Touch, CR Touch direct drive system. It's got a filament runout sensor. It's got a whole bunch of jazz going on. So guys, this is a very, very modified Ender 3. Because this is simply an Ender 3 style printer, I'm not gonna go over all the ins and outs of this machine. I'm just gonna go over the few things that are very, very different. One of those things, one of the most obvious and most important thing to me personally, is the screen and the firmware that the screen runs. Now, this is very, very important to me. You see, when I first started printing, I had a CR30, and I've never got that machine to work. And one of the biggest issues for me as a new printer person or whatever was simply the screen and the firmware that runs on the screen. It is very, very ugly, difficult to manage, and it's just not very user intuitive. Now, that all changed when I got an Ender 6. Of course, it has the touch screen and it's a colorful display. It shows pretty pictures and makes pretty noises and stuff, but it was very obvious to know what you were doing, and that proceeded through with the Ender 3 V2. Of course, that's not a touchscreen. Now, this screen is different than all of those, and it works differently, and it's got a completely different firmware. But that being said, it is very easy to navigate, and to me, that is very, very important. Of course, a big thing to hit on, which is obvious, this has a magnetic PEI flex plate. Now, there's not much to say about that. You can look at reviews all over the internet. They're all essentially the same. One thing to note though is this is a very sturdy flex plate. I am very impressed with the quality that Creality has included with this plate. While we're on the topic of the flex plate, I want to briefly mention another tool that you guys might want to purchase. Now, this is a magnetic PEI sheet. These are not new. However, it also isn't regularly said that these spatulas, they're sharp. They have sharp edges, and if you really go at the build plate too much, you might scratch the build plate, and of course that's gonna leave scarring on future prints. Now, usually you can flex the print bed and your part will pop right off, but that is not always the case. So guys, this spatula, I will have a link for it in the description if you're interested in checking it out. This is a very, very sturdy spatula, and it doesn't have a sharp edge on it. You can go at this all day long, and you can run it along the build plate and you won't scratch it. This is a seriously, seriously good tool to get, and if you do get this printer, something you might want to consider is purchasing this as a side upgrade. It is relatively cheap. I think it's only about $12, but it's $12 that you're going to want to spend. It's insurance for your build plate because your build plate's going to be $30 to replace. Another thing to me that is very important, and actually something I will never live without after using it, this has a CR Touch built into it. Now, whether you have a CR Touch, a BL Touch, you have a strain gauge in the nozzle, I don't care, it doesn't matter. I will not live without auto bed leveling. Just won't do it. Now, this machine has it built in to the stock Sprite Extruder. Now, of course, you can buy the Sprite Extruder and then you can mount it onto essentially any printer that exists. This printer comes direct with the Sprite Extruder, and upon installation or building of the printer, it is very, very easy to get this mounted to the gantry. You do have X and Y auto belt tensioning. Now, from factory, this machine had quite possibly the best belt tensioning out of any printer I've ever purchased. So that is a win in the book. If your belts do get a little bit loose, belt tensioning is very, very easy. This does have dual Z lead screws, and they are two separate motors. It's not just coupled with a belt. It is coupled with a belt, however, there are two motors. That means the higher your gantry goes up and the faster you're printing, you're not gonna have any droop in your Z. That's not gonna prevent your prints from failing, plus 1 or 2 thumbs up. Another really great thing for me, and it is again quite a small change, is going to be the filament holder along with the runout sensor. Now I would prefer the runout sensor to be built into the Sprite Extruder, but it's not, that's not important. But the thing with me is this whole setup up here. It's incredibly easy to install on the top of the printer. It just clicks right into place. It doesn't get loose. I have plenty of filament holders on my other machines, not the AnchorMake M5, but on a couple of my other printers. For starters, the Soval SV02 and my Ender 3 V2s, those filament holders get loose with wear and tear as the printer shakes around and vibrates. This, I don't think I'm ever gonna have that issue. On top of that, it also has a bearing built in, and of course you guys won't be able to really feel this, but the filament spools spin like butter. That means you put a full 1 or 2 kilogram spool on here, it's going to spin no problem. And I want to take a brief pause from the video and just ask for your support. Guys, if anything I've said has been helpful, this is the kind of content that I love to make. I make a bunch of these types of videos, I make a bunch of shorts. Guys, if you have found any of this helpful, some support and dropping a subscribe to the channel would be absolutely fantastic. This is the point in the video where I'm going to be talking about the items that I've 3D printed. And I didn't print a lot, I just wanted to get a general idea of what this machine was capable of. But we live in a day and age where if you buy from a reputable manufacturer and you watch 1 or 2 YouTube videos and that's all the knowledge you have, you could almost definitely get a print which is good on any machine. So we don't really need to be comparing how good a machine is or isn't, because they're all very, very good. But one thing that I do want to mention is that I've printed an XYZ calibration cube, because that is important. That tells you how calibrated this machine is from factory, and I am thrilled with the performance on it. I've got almost exactly 20/20/20 across the entire cube, and I really honestly don't know if I could expect better. You know, I wouldn't personally be able to calibrate it better. You know, I could calibrate it equivalently, but I don't think better is really an option. So it came very well calibrated from the factory. As for the other prints, of course I'm going to show you what I printed, but you know, everything looks very, very good. All of these were printed at 0.2 layer height. I didn't want to take too long, but everything looks absolutely fantastic. The only gripe I can say, and this is almost definitely my fault, the only gripe is that there were wisps along a couple of the prints. So, you know, maybe between the eyes on one of these hermit crabs, or maybe from one leg to the next or something. These prints came out very good, and those wisps are essentially the only thing that's wrong with them. The other thing that, if I wanted to get nitpicky, and this is probably the model, and once again might actually be my settings, are there's some pretty substantial Z-seam blobs on the left eye and the left eye on this hermit crab as well. And once again, I don't know if this is the printer's fault. This is a very, very geometrically strange part, and in the location it was printing, I don't attribute that to the printer. I really do think that might be the slicer settings that I used. All right, all in all, I think this printer performed very, very well. I could not have asked for a better printer in terms of print quality, in terms of features it has. I seriously do like this machine. And I really want to thank Creality for sending it out to me. We did not discuss what I will or won't say, so you guys have absolutely nothing to be concerned about in terms of them telling me what to say on camera. Everything I've said is my own opinion. This is the point where I tell you if you should or should not buy this printer, and it's really not that simple. See, this printer is about $480 US, at least in my area, and I absolutely know without a doubt that is outside the price range of some people, because you could simply go to Micro Center and get the $99 Ender 3. Now, there is a big difference. The $99 Ender 3 from Micro Center doesn't have the flex plate, it doesn't have direct drive, it doesn't have auto bed leveling, it has a horrific user interface screen, it doesn't have a filament runout sensor. There's a lot that it doesn't have. It doesn't have the dual Z lead screws. You get the point. Simply put, the $99 printer from Micro Center is just that. It's a $99 printer. It's the very beginning stages of 3D printing. This is a more advanced version of 3D printing. This is the Ender 3 that's at Micro Center for $99, except it's on many, many steroids. This printer is the printer to get if you have the money and you don't want to upgrade yourself. If you're a person that loves to upgrade, this is a fantastic machine, but there's not much to upgrade. So really, you know, it's up to you. What do you want to do in your printing journey? So here's the bottom line. I seriously like this machine, and whether the features I mentioned are worth it to you is really only a decision you can make. You know, everyone has different jobs, everyone has different amounts of money, and whether you have the money to spend on this or not is obviously up to you, not to me. I love the printer, and I think if you purchase it, you will not have buyer's remorse. It's a very good machine. That being said, you guys are probably curious why I have two Sonic pads on the table here. Now, I've purchased both of these Sonic pads myself, and I've been using them in my print farm for about 2 or 3 weeks. And I absolutely love running Clipper on my machines with the Sonic pad. The interface is fantastic, and it just makes everything much more simple. Now, I really, really love the Ender 3 S1 Pro with the firmware on the machine. I think it is far and away better than anything on the market, but I think the Sonic pad is better. And I will be installing Clipper on this machine, and I'll be doing it very soon. By the time this video goes live, this is probably already going to be a Clipper machine. And if that is something you guys want to see, be sure to drop a subscription to the channel because it will be live very, very soon. Once again, guys, thank you to Creality for sending this out and sponsoring the channel with this machine. I cannot thank them enough. This machine is absolutely fantastic, and I urge you to go look and do some more research on this machine to see if it is the one for you. Guys, I'll see you in the next video.